Okay, so have you noticed exponential is like the word of the moment, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Every headline, every tech prediction, it's all about this crazy fast change.
Yeah,
But honestly, a lot of it makes my head spin.
I can imagine.
And I'm guessing some of you out there feel the same way. So today we're doing a deep dive on what exponential actually means.
Well.
And way more importantly, what you need to know to not just survive, but thrive in this whole new world. No jargon allowed. Promise.
I think what we're seeing is a massive shift. For so long, we operated in a world of scarcity-limited resources.
Right, like that pie isn't big enough mentality.
Exactly. But technology, especially on the digital side, it's flipping the script. We're entering an age of abundance.
It's like that feeling when you finally get unlimited data on your phone. The internet feels boundless. Remember when long-distance calls were this huge expense? You'd actually budget for them.
Oh, absolutely. And now with Skype, WhatsApp, all that, it's basically free. That kind of overnight change, that's an exponential leap of total disruption of how things used to be.
And we're seeing that across industries now. So it's not even just about tech. It's a whole different way of thinking that's required.
100%.
Our deep dive today is based on some fascinating books, one being Exponential Organizations. It talks about companies built for this new reality called, naturally, exponential organizations, or EXOs.
That's you. Right.
And these aren't your average businesses with a fancy app slapped on. They've got this thing called an MTP, if you've come across that.
The MTP, massively transformative purpose. It's essential for these exos. It's like their North Star, but way more powerful than just making a profit.
So bigger than just we want to make money.
Way bigger. It's a bold vision, the kind that attracts the best talent, fuels innovation. Ultimately, it's what drives that crazy exponential growth.
Like Google's whole organize the world's information thing.
A classic example. It's huge, ambitious, but it also feels doable because of how powerful tech has become.
Right. But it gets even more interesting. This book breaks down Exos into 11 characteristics.
11.
Yeah, 11. We won't bore you with all of them, but we picked out a couple that are really impactful.
The best hits, so to speak.
Exactly. So, two that jumped out were staff on demand and community and crowd. Now, I know those sound jargony, but stay with me.
Well, demystify it.
Staff on demand basically means instead of hiring these huge permanent teams, Exos can tap into a global network of like freelancers and experts exactly when they need them.
Like having this massive talent pool you can draw from on demand, it's incredibly flexible and agile.
Right. And then community and crowd. This is where it gets really interesting. Exos don't just rely on their internal teams, they leverage the intelligence and resources of their customers, even the wider public.
Think Wikipedia. Millions of users contributing to a constantly growing knowledge base. That's the power of the crowd in action.
And a company like Airbnb, they don't own any hotels, but they've transformed the whole industry.
By connecting travelers and hosts directly. It's brilliant.
It really is. So instead of trying to control and, oh boy, every single part of the business.
Which is the old way of thinking.
Totally. Exos embrace this collaborative, interconnected approach.
It goes right back to that abundance mindset. It's not about what you possess, but how you tap into the vast resources already out there.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, right?
It really is.
Like, I'm already seeing things differently.
That's the goal. But before we get too lost in the business side, our deep dive also uncovered these 8 core technologies. They're kind of the engine behind this whole exponential change.
Oh, right. The sources called them out specifically, didn't they?
They did. We're talking infinite computing, networks, sensors. Then you've got AI, robotics, 3D printing, VR and AR, and even genomics and longevity. It's a mouthful.
It's a lot to keep track of. What's the key takeaway there? Should we be trying to, like, invest in all these things?
The important thing, more than the specifics, is that each of these is advancing at an insane pace. They're getting more powerful, more affordable every single day. And here's the kicker. They're starting to overlap, to interact in ways we're just beginning to understand. That's where the real potential for disruption lies.
So it's not just that each one is impressive on its own. It's like the combination, the synergy that makes it truly exponential.
Exactly. Think about it. AI needs massive data to learn, right? Where's that data coming from? Sensors, networks, the whole Internet of Things explosion. Now, combine AI with robotics or 3D printing, the possibilities are kind of mind-boggling.
It really is a lot to process. Our sources also emphasize, though, that to really thrive in this environment, it's not enough to just get the text.
No.
We need the right mindset, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you heard of moonshot thinking? It came up a lot.
Moonshot thinking is a fantastic concept. It's about setting these big, audacious goals, the kind that at first seem almost impossible. So instead of incremental improvements, you're aiming for a 10x change, a radical breakthrough.
So instead of a slightly better smartphone, it's how do we communicate telepathically kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about challenging assumptions, pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible. And the exciting thing is, in an exponential world, those impossible ideas, they can become reality a lot faster than we expect.
Inspiring, but also a tad intimidating. How do we even start thinking that way?
One way is to look for areas where scarcity is still the norm, and then ask, how can technology create abundance here? What if we could use AI to personalize education for every single student? What if genomics could cure diseases we think of as incurable now?
So it's about finding the problems we care about most and then going, what's the moonshot solution here?
Exactly. And remember, moonshot thinking isn't about you having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions, the ones that spark creativity, collaboration. It's about being open to new possibilities and never stopping learning.
So we've got the technologies, we've got this moonshot mindset, but our sources also talked about these 6 Ds, and this one felt a little less inspiring, if I'm honest, a lot more disruptive even.
The 6 Ds are definitely a force to be reckoned with. Think of it as a chain reaction, one that can completely upend industries, change how we do, well, everything. It usually starts with digitization.
Right, like when something physical, a book or a photo, becomes digital. Sounds simple enough, but that's where it begins, isn't it?
Because once something's digital, it can be copied endlessly, sent around the world at almost no cost, which leads to the second D, deception. These new technologies, new ways of doing business, they often fly under the radar at first.
Like you don't even notice them or they seem kind of silly.
Exactly, but then, boom, they hit a tipping point and disruption is here. Suddenly, the old players who didn't adapt are in trouble. The game has changed completely.
And it gets kind of ruthless here because then comes demonetization.
Right. Think about music. When digital downloads and streaming came along, paying for individual songs or albums seemed, well, kind of pointless.
And not just music, publishing, photography, even taxis with ride-sharing apps.
Exactly. And this demonetization often goes hand in hand with dematerialization. Physical stuff matters less and less. Digital alternatives take over. Netflix replacing video stores, e-books challenging traditional publishing.
It's like the old ways just vanish.
In a way, they do. And finally, we reach the last D. Democratization. What was expensive, exclusive, becomes available to everyone.
So things like information, education, even healthcare could become way more equal, more accessible because of this.
Absolutely. That's the positive side of this disruption. It empowers individuals, levels the playing field, creates opportunities that were never there before.
It's a good reminder that these changes aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we respond, how we adapt that matters. But I gotta admit, it still feels kind of overwhelming.
I get it. It's a lot to take in. But the good news is you don't have to navigate this alone.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Exciting, but kind of scary at the same time.
Right?
Like the future's coming in hot, and no one gave us the instruction manual. So where do we even begin? What can we actually do to ride this wave instead of getting wiped out?
I love that. Ride the wave. Because it really is about being adaptable, proactive. Based on everything we've looked at, honestly, just becoming more aware of those 8 core technologies is huge.
Infinite computing, the AI, genomics, the whole shebang.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But don't just memorize the list, you know. Think about which of those really gets you thinking. Which one makes you go, man, I wonder what'll happen with that in 5 years.
Because that's probably where the biggest opportunities are hiding, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where that abundance mindset comes in. Instead of focusing on limitations, it's what if? What if that tech that seems crazy today is normal tomorrow? How does that change your industry, your job, even just your life?
So curiosity as our compass, not fear.
Love that. And here's another big takeaway from our deep dive. In a world where information is everywhere, the real skill isn't having all the answers. It's asking the right questions.
Ooh, that's interesting. Why is that so important in this whole exponential age, though?
Think about it. Algorithms, AI, they're getting really good at information, at finding answers. What they don't have is that human spark of curiosity, the why, The what if.
Our humanness, our ability to think creatively, critically, that's our superpower.
Exactly. The more complex the world gets, the more valuable your ability to ask insightful questions becomes, to connect the dots, see patterns others miss. That's where you'll shine.
So we don't need to be tech wizards, but we do need to be expert learners and, like you said, expert question askers.
I love that. Expert learners, question askers. That's the good stuff right there.
This has been an amazing deep dive, honestly. Exponential organizations, moonshot thinking, those kind of scary 6Ds. We've covered a lot of ground.
It's been a pleasure exploring it all with you.
And to everyone listening, we hope this has sparked your curiosity, given you some things to chew on. The future's not some fixed thing. It's what we choose to make it, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So keep learning, keep those questions coming, and most importantly, never lose that sense of wonder about what's possible.
You hear?
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. If any terms or concepts stood out to you, maybe something you want to revisit, check out the glossary in your show notes.
Until next time, stay curious, everybody.
And embrace the exponential.